It's time for another episode of the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth, and as always, joining me today is your other host, Paul Hayes. In this episode, we discuss what it takes to put on a sale, how to market your cattle, and your ranch, plus more. Well, Paul, how are you today?
I'm great. How about you? I'm ready to start the podcast.
I am too. Mr. Shivers, how are you today?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about today. I hope our listeners will learn something. I'm sure they will.
I sure hope so. I appreciate the opportunity. You two guys forgot to tell me I was supposed to wear a coat and tie today.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't know. Every time I see you, every picture I've seen of you, you're always in a coat and tie. So I figured I would have to match that.
But I underdressed for the occasion.
That's okay. Paul, you want to help us get to know our guest today?
I would. So, Mr. Shivers, what is something that in school you maybe used to get in trouble a little bit with?
Well, guys, I'm probably going to be like you two, where fortunately I didn't get in a whole lot of trouble. And that was primarily because I knew if I got in trouble at school and I got a spanking there, I'd get another one when I got home. So I tried to stay out of trouble. But as I might expect with you two guys too, I might have talked a little bit. If I ever got in trouble, that'd probably be the basis of it.
Right. I can definitely say we're probably about the same there.
Yes. Yes, sir, for sure. And then I sure do like some good country music. So, what's your country music band or singer?
I like a lot of different country acts, and fortunately, been able to interact with quite a few of those over the years. But I would guess I have to say the all-time favorite would be George Strait. Of course, he's somewhat retired now, and I had the opportunity to go see kind of what he called his Cowboy Rides Away tour. So, still, probably if I had to say who my favorite was, that'd have to be one of the all-time.
He's one of the greats.
King of country.
That's it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have a few questions that we like to ask every episode that we just kind of like we call them our base questions. So, will you tell us what events in your life have kind of helped shape you to who you are today and kind of put you in the position you're at today?
Guys, I think I'd be similar to kind of your path that you've gone thus far. Is of course grew up in 4-H and FFA, and of course I feel like that created a strong foundation. If I had to sum it up, I'd say being in the right place at the right time, and many doors being opened. Much like you, I was involved in the junior activities. I did serve on the American Junior Brahmin Association Board of Directors. I was involved in an organization in Mississippi where I grew up called the Mississippi Junior Cattlemen's Association. And through that, it was, of course, just what it said, an organization where all junior cattlemen were a part of it. And by being a part of that, we went to the Young Youth Beef Industry Congress, where I was able to interact with other leaders across all breeds of cattle throughout the United States. And then ultimately, that helped me secure an internship with the Mississippi Beef Council. And as part of that, we went to the National Cattlemen's Beef Association convention where I met a guy named Jim Reeves, who was the former executive vice president of the American Brahman Breeders Association. At that time, there were some issues there at NCBA that the Brahman breed was fighting for, primarily in terms of equality. Where certified Angus beef was a big program at that point. There were some NCBA dollars that were being thrown to the promotion of a breed-specific program, and we helped deter some of that and ultimately make equality for all the breeds. And by working side by side with Jim Reeves at that point, he understood or knew who I was. At that time, I was still in college. And when I graduated Mississippi State University in 1999, there was an opening at the American Brahman Breeders Association for Director of Association Services and Youth. And he reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in that position. Of course, just like any college graduate, I was looking for a job and had other opportunities, but I was able to ultimately be awarded that position, which kind of set me on the path of my involvement there at ABBA. Of course, just like you two guys, I grew up from when 11 years old, showing Brahman cattle. Of course, I had a great interest in the breed and had a passion for them, and was a great student of them. I would get in trouble a lot of times when I was supposed to be doing my homework. I'd be reading Brahman journals or making phone calls to other breeders, which kind of sounds familiar to you two guys. But ultimately, it was kind of those stepping stones of being in the right place at the right time that led me to my involvement at ABBA, which ultimately propelled me into where I am today.
Well, I love the homework deal. I've got in trouble for maybe doing some stuff while I was supposed to be doing homework, but
Yeah.
I forgot to tell people who you are. I'm sure a lot of people do know who you are. You're a very well-known person in the cattle industry, but um Mr. Chris Shivers is the owner of Infinity Cattle Services. I'm sorry, I forgot to read your bio, but I think a good majority of people know who you are. So, um, and then something else we like to ask everybody that comes on our podcast is what traits do you think are important when it comes to selecting cattle?
That's something that obviously everybody's going to have a difference of opinion, and I think that's what makes it unique. But I'm a balanced trait kind of guy. Of course, they need to be phenotypically superior. I like cattle that are sound. I like them modern. I like them deep ribbed. I like them heavy muscled. I like them to have some eye appeal. But also, and probably more into what I do on a daily basis, is I think cattle have to come from a proven pedigree. I think that cattle have to be something are backed by genetics that people understand and they appreciate. And then lastly, I think that cattle need to have a positive performance profile. When I look at selecting cattle, I like cattle that are moderate for birth weight. I like them to be ranked in the top half of the breed at least for weaning, yearling, and milk EPDs. And of course, kind of my background is and being an industry leader within the beef industry, I think that cattle need to have some carcass quality, primarily for both ribeye area as well as marbling. So, when I'm selecting cattle, I think we look at all those traits and what I would call a balanced set of traits. And from a marketing standpoint, I think once you accomplish all that, then you've got something that everybody would want. It doesn't matter if you're looking for show ring cattle, you've got the eye appeal. If you're somebody that's looking for breeding stock, of course, with a known pedigree, you're going to have something a lot of people are going to appreciate. And then for those that really focus on performance cattle or more the commercial industry, I think those cattle that chart positive for those performance traits, you're going to hit that niche as well. So, me personally, I kind of like something from all aspects. And again, that might come back to my marketing background, is that we need something for everyone. And of course, the more markets we have, the more apt we are to be able to market those cattle to someone.
I love your perspective because you're what you do is you market cattle, and so it's nice to see how you like to pull those different traits that kind of represent everybody that helps cattle be more marketable. All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and start moving into our discussion questions. And the first topic we wanted to talk about was um, your time as an executive vice president, and you were the executive vice president of the American Brahmin Breeders Association. But we're not going to be breed specific. Just kind of talk about running a breed association in general. And so, on that note, what does it take to run a breed association?
That's a great question. And I think there's a lot of conversation about that today in terms of what the role of a breed association is. And my philosophy, and again, you don't want to get breed specific, but I think the role of any breed association is to provide services for all members. And I say that because we provide a number of different programs. Of course, you two guys like to show cattle, and you're also involved in the junior activity. So those would be two significant programs that any breed association could provide. Of course, data recording, not only from the parentage of cattle, but also sending in your birth weights and weaning weights and yearling weights and ultrasound information and all those things. It's important that a breed association document that to be able to provide EPDs and other indexes and tools for producers just like you two guys to be able to use for selection and ultimately improve the breed and provide tools to breeders. Of course, international marketing is a big thing, especially for the Brahmin breed. Maybe not so much with other breeds, but to get a little breed specific, that's a huge thing that ABBA, the American Brahmin Breeders Association, provides, is going to these different countries and showcasing the superiority of the American Brahmin, inviting people to come up here to Houston Livestock Show and other activities throughout the course of the year. Of course, the other things that are important for a breed association would be the marketing, through communications and print ads and websites and Facebook pages, and, promoting the strong attributes of the breed association. And then, of course, lastly would be membership services. It's very important that an association provide, membership services, whether it be education, whether it be field days, of course, sales and marketing opportunities. So in my opinion, and it's one thing that we really strive to do while I was at ABBA is to provide something for everybody. And I think ultimately that should be the goal of an organization.
Absolutely. That's definitely I agree with that. The different services and then of course the base function of registering and collecting data like you said.
And you just talked about all those things that you did as the executive vice president. And how did doing those things and being the executive vice president help you for what you're doing now?
Paul, that's a great question. So I was actually employed with the American Brahmin Breed Association for 17 years. I mentioned earlier the first 4 years of my career was Director of Association Service and Youth. And as part of that, I oversaw the American Junior Brahmin Association, actually put together 18 All-Americans, which you two guys are very familiar with. I also oversaw the very successful F1 certification program. I oversaw the Brahmin Improvement Records, which is the program where cattlemen, submit all of their, weights and measures and things of that sort that are ultimately calculated DPDs. And then, of course, oversaw all the educational programs. And then I spent 13 years as executive vice president. And what propelled me to where I am today is working with a lot of really good breeders, a lot of them new, who had the desire to do it, they had the resource to do it, and they had the want to. But quite simply, they didn't have the education or the background to be able to accomplish where they wanted to go. And I saw that as a need. And I think anytime that there's a need and you're able to fill that, then ultimately it's going to work into something that would be a successful venture for you. And ultimately, after I'd kind of done everything that I wanted to do at ABBA, and after 17 years of being there, I felt like that they needed some new blood, some new enthusiasm. And I kind of researched, okay, what am I going to do next? And fortunately, I created a pretty strong following with a lot of good people that I was able to take with me once I left ABBA. And they signed me on as a consultant, where I was able to facilitate their programs. And then something we're going to get into a little later, I was able to start hosting sales. Which was something, again, a lot of people needed. They knew how to breed the cattle. They knew how to prepare them, but they just needed somebody else to take it to that next level to help them market those cattle to ultimately generate revenue for them to be financially sound and be successful.
So are you still a consultant for ABBA currently?
No, I don't necessarily consult for ABBA anymore. Of course, I do manage quite a few of their sales. We just held the World Brahmin Congress sale, and then I've got the International Brahmin sale that'll be held during the International Show in March. And occasionally, they'll call with different questions, but for the most part, I'm completely removed from ABBA anymore. Still, obviously, work very closely with the association as well as a lot of their members, and definitely a big supporter and a big proponent of the organization, but I'm not, involved in any official capacity with ABBA at this time.
Right. I was just wondering because now you're no longer really with the breed association anymore. You're not really a breeder. You're a marketer. You see what's going on within the cattle industry. So we want to talk about the future of the beef cattle industry with you because we think you're somebody that can really has a broad view over what's happening in the beef industry. So what's something good that you're seeing happen currently in the beef industry?
Well, there's several things, and I think they feed off each other. Of course, right now we're receiving record prices for our commercial cattle at the market. I know both you guys, families, have commercial cattle operations, and I'm sure you've sold some calves over the last 6 months. And both your families would tell you that, man, we've never seen the cattle bring this kind of money, which is great for you as producers. I think a lot of that too is, of course, supply and demand of the beef product. But secondly, we have some of the lowest numbers of cattle in this country that we've had in a long time. So one thing that I do think that we're going to see, which I think is extremely exciting for Brahman breeders, is a herd expansion. And of course, especially in the southern United States, a lot of people are going to go to Brahman and Brahman influenced cattle. So I think there's several things. One is we're receiving record prices. We expect that that's going to remain for a couple of years. So from a commercial standpoint, I think things are really good from generating revenue for your family operations. Secondly, I think as Brahman breeders, things are very exciting. I think we're going to see an increase in Brahman bulls going out on commercial cattle. And I think, too, the F1 female market is already extremely hot. And I think that's going to feed into the registered Brahman production because a lot of these guys who are getting top dollar for their F1 females, they're going to want to buy Brahman genetics to go ahead and kind of freshen up their herds and continue to produce F1 cattle that will ultimately be fed into the commercial industry. So a lot of really good things on the horizon. Of course, a lot of research and continued improvements in the industry, especially in terms of efficiency, which again, I know you two guys like the Brahman breed, and I think that's one thing the breed excels in. So I really think that, for, what we expect is going to happen over the next couple of years, things look really positive and really exciting.
And you were talking about cattle population being low. It's in the United States, it's the lowest it's been over the past year. It was the lowest it's been since 1951. So that's a good ways back. So
It
It
is.
is.
I
I'm
think that just shows that the future is bright. I mean, we have to continue to feed not only our people here, but a lot of people around the world. And, supply and demand says if there's fewer calves being born every year, well, the price should stay high because of the people who are going to want to eat the beef product.
right, and I just also when we when cattle are sold and we kind of cull, we start out with kind of a fresh basis of cattle that are more superior genetically. So I think that's also kind of given us not that we I mean we it's always great to have a fresh start.
Oh, I agree. So,
Yes, sir. And you just mentioned this when Baxter asked you about what's good now, and you already touched on what you think's gonna happen in the future. Was there anything else you'd like to add on where you think the beef industry is going in its future?
I really don't think so. Again, I think efficiency and quality are the two key words that we really need to focus on. Is of course, how do we produce more pounds of beef per acre and per animal? Of course, I don't have to tell you two guys that the population, merely people and urban sprawl are taking up a lot of the land mass that used to, be where cattle were run. So again, I think we have to take fewer numbers of cattle and produce the same amount of beef. And secondly, is we've got a consumer who is really quality driven. I mean, we're not just producing commodity beef anymore. We're producing beef that goes into white tablecloth restaurants. We've got a consumer who knows what the quality of beef is. And I think we have to continue to improve to where we have a higher quality product to where people enjoy that experience and ultimately want to eat beef maybe over some of the other protein sources.
If you truly want your livestock to perform at their best, make sure to contact Vance Aaron, the owner and operator of AFL Livestock Solutions. Vance specializes in magnawave treatments that use pulsed electromagnetic fields, or PEMF, to relieve pain, swelling, and inflammation, caused to help your livestock feel their best. In addition to livestock, Vance can also help you feel better. His treatment works great on sore muscles and joints, along with other mobility issues. His treatments are FDA approved to treat migraines. Aaron Family Livestock Solutions has helped many exhibitors make it to the backdrop with their proven MagnaWave treatments. Don't miss your next backdrop picture. Give Vance a call at 903-720-3184. Again, that's 903-720-3184. Or find them on Facebook at AFL Livestock Solutions. I think we can kind of move into talking about you and your operation and your business. What made you want to start Infinity Cattle Services?
As I mentioned earlier, I just saw a need of people who needed advice. And it's like we tell people all the time, I don't know if I can make any money, but I certainly think I could save you a lot by, my experience, both at the breed association as well as, as a younger guy raising cattle and understanding kind of what it takes to be profitable. And as much as anything, we try to save people from making costly mistakes. But, since leaving ABBA, it's been a good ride. We've had the opportunity to work with a lot of good people. I think most of them would say that we've improved their program or currently helped them remain more profitable. But we're kind of diverse in what we're able to do. Not only do we provide sales, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but we're also able to make breeding decisions and help them with their paperwork. And of course, you two guys know from being Brahman specific, collecting DNA information and guiding them through this process, that quite simply, a lot of people get pretty disenchanted over. And if they have somebody that knows the ins and outs and is able to make this a little easier process, then they're more apt to stay around and be, involved in our breed association and ultimately the industry.
And so you started Infinity Cattle Services. So what do you do now on a day-to-day basis?
Paul, I guess the beauty of this is no day is the same. We start and, we're in January right now where really all of our activities are looking toward the first week of March. We're fortunate to be able to manage the Houston Livestock Show Rodeo All Breeds Bull and Female sale. We'll sell roughly 450 females and 65 bulls that will represent roughly 13 registered breeds. So a lot of that is going and looking at these cattle, taking the nominations, putting the catalogs together and promoting that sale. As I mentioned earlier, I'll do the International Brahman sale. We're currently at the process right now of getting pictures and videos done. We'll put that catalog together and we'll offer roughly 15 gray and red Brahman females in that sale there at the International Brahman Show. And then after that, we'll be full-blown sales season through about the last weekend in May. June, we typically start working on a sale that we have every July in Mississippi called the Brahmins at the Camellia. August, normally we start getting ready for the fall sale season, and we'll run kind of sales September through first part of December. And fortunately, around the middle of December, we start kind of wrapping up year-end activities, of course, the holidays, and have a little downtime, and then we start all over again. And in addition to the sales, of course, we're making mating decisions. We're doing a lot of registrations right now. And just continue to do things to kind of keep things flowing. So when we do get ready to market the cattle, that everything's in place. So, getting to work with a lot of good people, getting to put together a lot of really nice events, and ultimately help some people be successful. So no day's the same, but we enjoy it and we have a good time. And unfortunately, you're able to work with a lot of good people.
I don't think we've ever had anybody that we've asked that question to that says they do the same thing nearly every day. That's just the beauty of the diversity in the agriculture industry that we offer.
That's right.
It truly is. It truly is. So could you go into detail on what services Infinity Cattle Service offer?
Sure. And I think that's a great question because, as we've discussed, we do a lot of different things. We have some clients that we strictly just do their registrations and transfers. We just keep up with their paperwork. And of course, secure DNA samples and things of that sort. And then, we have others where it's full service. We manage their website, we update those, we manage their Facebook posts. Um, we help them market their cattle. We put different sales on for them throughout the course of the year. We do a lot of mating decisions. Of course, a lot of these guys are using in vitro fertilization. So we, help them select the bulls, get the semen shipped in, manage the cattle getting aspirated, coordinate all the protocols. We have other people who simply, we help them with their herd health, turn them over to veterinarians and get them on a good herd health program, nutrition program. So basically anything that a cattleman would need in their operation, we have the ability to be able to facilitate them with that. And I'm not saying that I've got all the answers, but certainly we've got a great network of people that we're able to outsource some of this stuff to. Of course, we have trusted partners that we work closely with. So pretty much if you're in the cattle business and there's any facet of that you need assistance with, we're ultimately able to fill that need.
I didn't realize y'all had so many services. The sales, I'm to me, that's what I think y'all are most known for. I don't know. That's just what I view y'all the most as. I didn't realize y'all had that many services.
So you just talked about one of the services was that y'all help market y'all's customers' cattle. Could you go into detail on how your team markets y'all's customers' cattle for us? Just go in detail on that.
Sure. So, Paul, we do a wide array of things. And I think most people probably follow our sales, whether they be internet sales or public auctions. And we do a lot of those. In fact, last year we were part of 27 different sales. And I would say the majority of those were internet sales. And we'll discuss that a little more in depth later. And we probably do, and I hadn't counted them up, probably 10 different live auctions a year. And then we do also market some cattle private treaty. Somebody will call and say, we're looking for a bull. Well, then within our network, we know people who have breeding age bulls, and we'll put the two parties together, and then they're able to transact business. So we do a lot of different marketing efforts, whether it be a private treaty, through internet sales, or actual public auctions.
Interesting. Have you been looking for a place to buy top quality AI sire semen or collect a bull of your own? Well, look no further than Elgin Breeding Services. Located in Elgin, Texas, Elgin Breeding Service is not only one of the best breeding services in the business, but also has superior customer service. Contact them at ebsbull@elginbreedingservices.com or by phone at 512-285-2019. Again, that's 512-285-2019. And visit their website at elginbreedingservice.com. You've already talked about the question I'm going to ask you. So if you don't want to answer it, or you don't have to, or if you have something else you want to say, go more into detail on it, you can. So how does using Infinity Cattle Services help benefit a cattle operation?
And we have touched some of it, but we're a full service consultant and marketing firm. And in doing that, anything that a cattleman might need to help them remain successful or profitable, we can provide that service. If a guy just calls up and says, I'm looking for a certain set of cattle, we can assist there. If we need, somebody says we need assistance on collecting information from our registration or data collection of our performance data, we can assist with that, collecting DNA, submitting information to the association. We've talked about herd health, nutrition, marketing. It's a wide array of services, and anything that we can do to assist someone, we're open, available, and willing to do that.
Sounds good. Well, our next topic was the different kinds of sales, which this is kind of something, and obviously I'm 14. A decade ago I was 4, so I can't say that this is for sure something that's been starting in a decade. But it's I could be incorrect about this, but I'd say in about the last decade, we've started to have a different variety of sales. We can do online sales now. So, what do you think the benefits of online sales versus an in-person sale are?
So the beauty of online sales is it doesn't, well, I don't say it doesn't matter, but if you're a smaller producer, you have access to that just from the sheer cost of putting a sale on. If you have 6 to 8 head of cattle or genetic lots, even, you're able to have an online sale. Typically, those are fixed costs. I would say if you want to kind of rough ball it for, $4,000 to $5,000, and that's going to be promotion, the sale platform, pictures and videos, and everything that you might need, you can put a sale on. So that really appeals to a lot of smaller producers or newer producers who are just getting in the business to provide a marketing opportunity. So I think there's a lot of value to these online sales that, no matter what size you are, you're able to take advantage of those marketing opportunities.
Absolutely.
So then you talked about small ranches using online sales because it's cost effective for them. So what would be the advantage or the benefits of doing a mix of both online and in-person sales?
Well, the beauty of that is you're going to hit everybody. I think that a lot of people are really kind of coming back to the, what we'll call live sales, on farm sales, production sales, whatever you want to call them, primarily just due to the fellowship aspect. We used to, and Baxter said, say 10 years ago, have a lot of on farm sales. At that time, there weren't really any internet sales. And then the internet sales came on and they created a lot of excitement. They were very cost effective. They were user friendly. People didn't have to travel to go look at the cattle. They could look at a picture and a video. They could sit in the comfort of their home and they could bid. Where now I think we're transitioning to maybe people looking to want to go see the cattle, see other people with interest, and actually go to an event. And I think that that's great, from a fellowship standpoint. But then again, just like your family, just like you two guys, you have a lot of things going on. And if you're at a show, you can sit there at the stalls on your phone or on your computer, and you can still buy cattle, so you're not missing that opportunity. But to answer the question, I think if you combine the internet sales with the on farm or the production sales or live sales, then you're able to hit everybody and ultimately, hopefully, garner up a few more dollars that you wouldn't get if you just chose one over the other.
I I like that. So something that I've heard people talk about, and I want to hear your perspective, is how important do you think that it is to go and check out cattle before an online sale, if at all possible?
Actually, I think it's very important. And I mean, and I do a lot of online sales, but I would recommend if you're going to buy the cattle, I think you need to go look at it. There's a lot of good people out there who can take great photographs. They do a great job videoing. I'm not saying they're hiding anything. I'm just saying that you need to go look at these cattle. That way you feel comfortable. When you hit that bid button that you know what you're buying. The last thing that I would want anybody to do, even if they bought them in my sales, to go pick the cattle up and be surprised on disposition, on how well their halter broke, on feet and leg structure. Of course, there's a lot of things you can see in pictures and videos, but yet there's a lot of things that you can't. So I think before you make that purchase, I'd encourage you to go look at those animals to make sure that you know what you're buying.
Yes, sir. And I can even tell a difference, with livestock judging, with livestockjudging.com versus seeing them in person. There's a difference in kind of the how easy it is to evaluate them. It's a lot easier in person to be able to see what you're actually looking at.
Yep,
But
no, I agree.
uh but which do you think is the best type of sale to increase your profitability if you're maybe a big ranch or a smaller ranch, just kind of compare and contrast?
You know, I don't think there's a one size that fits all. I think there's several options. As we talked earlier, for a smaller producer who might only have 6 or 8 animals or genetic lots even to sell, then maybe they want to go that route. of the internet sale. Again, we think there's a lot of value in having in-person sales. One, people get together, they get to actually see the animals, and they enjoy that aspect of it. The one thing that I do want to make sure that all your listeners understand is even if they only had 6 or 8 head, potentially they partner up with other people in their area. They form these marketing co-ops. They take advantage of some of these different consignment sales that people offer. So yeah, I don't want the if somebody feels like, well, I don't have a 5 or 6 head, there's other opportunities. You don't necessarily have to go the online only option. There's a lot of opportunities out there to be able to get with others to host an in-person sale if that's what you desire to do, to where you all spread the expenses, you share a catalog, a facility, and all the things that go into this, and still have a very successful live sale.
Well, you just answered my next question, but as you just mentioned, it really is an accomplishment to be able to have a sale as a ranch. It's accomplishment.
And I had one thing. We've talked about both in-person sales and online sales separately. Is Infinity Cattle Services able to do I've seen it before where a sale is both in person and online? Do y'all do stuff like that as well?
Yeah, so we do host a number of different um, live sales where we go to a venue. Of course, we do have some for respective ranches, but really the majority of the live sales we do are actual consignment sales where a group of people, even if they have 1 or 2 head, all the way to those who have 6 or 7 head, they come together in one venue, and we put the catalog together. We do all the promotion. We do everything to facilitate the sale. And then we also do a number of different online sales. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll have different ranches and even different marketing co-ops for that matter that come together to say, we want to have an online sale. We'll facilitate the pictures and videos and do all the promotion. We don't actually have a platform. We kind of leave that up to whoever's having the sale. There's a number of different great platforms out there and service providers that do the pictures and videos. Of course, we typically go and make sure that pictures and videos are done and assist with all that, but we don't actually have our own platform. But yeah, we can certainly help you facilitate that. Like I said, I think this past year in 2024 we did 27 different sales, with the majority of those being online. But I would think probably 8 to 10 of those were actually in-person sales. So yeah, anytime that you want to have your own sale or you want to join up with another group, give us a call. That's what we do, and we're able to facilitate those marketing opportunities for you.
Go ahead, Paul.
Right. And you've talked about smaller ranches combining with other small ranches to have a combined sale. When do you think a ranch is big enough to have their own sale?
As I mentioned earlier, I think for the cost to kind of be spread over a number of different lots, that you probably need to have at least 6 to 8 head or lots. Again, I don't want to take away from the genetic lots. There's a lot of people who have really proven donor cows or put up some great embryos, or even some bulls that have either have great show ring success or good performance data or whatever that might be appealing to people. So I think 6 to 8 lots is kind of that optimal number for you to have. One thing that I do want to emphasize is it's not just about sale day. As you put these sales together, you're going to have a lot of e-blasts and Facebook messages or Facebook posts and a lot of different promotion. So it's not necessarily the value is not only on sale day. A lot of it is you're showcasing your operation. You're showcasing your cattle. You're allowing people to see the kind of cattle that you're raising. So I don't want people to think, oh, it's just about sale day. No, I think every time that promotion comes out about your sale, that's just another advertisement that further promotes your operation.
Right. And um you talked about the cost and stuff, so that's kind of why we wanted to ask that question. So, and then when obviously you can't start out big enough, but when sometimes you can, but when ranches get to be that big, they obviously have to have a first time for their sale. So what's your advice to ranchers that this may be their first time that they're having a sale? What would your advice be to them?
I think that's a great question. And I think the emphasis is one, you need to have something that you think people want. Secondly, and probably the most important answer to your question is they got to have the cattle prepared. And I tell people all the time in the group that we work with, it's about timing. A lot of people feel like, well, we've got a sale and I've got a 6 month old calf, and because I'm having a sale, I need to put it in there. And I don't think that's the answer at all. I think that you need to keep that calf until it's dehorned, that it's halter broke, that it's branded, it's in its best condition. Don't try to force a square peg into a round hole. Market the cattle when they're ready. If they're a 2 year old, keep them another 6 months and get them bred, or whatever the scenario might be. Make sure that the cattle are being marketed in their optimal time. So what I would say is, if somebody's planning to have a sale, that one, they need to make sure that genetically or condition wise, or that they're meeting the objection of what they're wanting. And then secondly is that those cattle are prepared. And then of course, and you don't necessarily have to seek our services. If you have any questions, or any of your listeners are like, well, I think I might want to have a sale, but I'm not real sure if it's the time to do it, feel free to contact us. We certainly want everybody to be successful, and we try to lead them in a positive direction on that. But I think just having something that's marketable and market ready are the two key components of that. And of course, lastly, it's all in how you promote it. I think you've got to promote the strong suits of what you're trying to sell, and they need to have that promotion in place. One, they don't, they need to promote their operation, not necessarily what they're trying to sell, but who they are. I heard the advertisement for Paul's operation a little while ago. I think that's a great first step. Is who's Flat Rock Brahmins? What do they produce? And then lastly, what are they trying to sell today? So I think that you need to establish yourself even before you have the sale as to who you are and what kind of cattle you have and what are your foundations.
Hi guys, I'm your co-host, Paul Hayes, and I'd like to tell you all about my family business that has been going on for over 50 years now, and that is raising quality registered Brahmin cattle. Our ranch is called Flat Rock Brahmins, and we have locations in Glen Rose and LaGrange, Texas. And we are here for all of your cattle needs. Whether it's needing show cattle, replacement females, or even a new herd sire, we would be happy to earn your business and watch our genetics excel in your herd. You can contact me by email at paulhayesv@icloud.com, or my dad, who helps manage the ranch, at paulhayesiv@icloud.com, or over the phone at 817-964-2752.
I think that's some great advice, but I thought, maybe some other advice you would share is to hire a great sale management service like Infinity Cattle Services.
Right. I'm not saying that would hurt anything, but I don't want to promote that too hard here today.
Right. Yes, sir. So, kind of transferring into marketing, and because that's what you specialize in, that's what you do. So our first question on that topic is, do you think there's still benefits to marketing cattle through private treaty?
Backshot, I really think if you could do that, that may be the most optimum way. And the reason I say that is one, people come see you, they see the cattle, they meet you, they're able to look at your program, they're able to see the parents of the animal that they're going to buy. And lastly, they're able to see who they're doing business with, and that's one of the things. And trust me, we've had a lot of really good internet sales, but there's that disconnect of people who are buying off a video, off a picture, that never actually get to meet the people who they're buying from. And, the other thing that I think people really need to understand is this is a people business. And I think it's very important that when you're buying something, that you're buying from a reputation program and somebody that is going to stand behind that product. And the best way to do that is to be able to go look at what you're buying and meet the people who are selling it.
I do absolutely think that helps build transparency and truthfulness and just the connection and honesty too.
It does, and when my family has bought through online sales before, we've gone to the ranch and walked through and saw that, and everything that you're saying right now is absolutely true through that.
So, like we said, your whole thing is marketing. So if you were to give just like one advice of what is the biggest thing when it comes to marketing that you have to remember and do when it comes to either it could be marketing your cattle or marketing your ranch as a whole. So what would that one piece of this is something you have to do advice be?
Actually, I think that's a great question. And that's probably something a lot of people miss. And I think it's one thing that's customer service. You know, in my opinion, and I was told this early on, that the actual sale starts after the sale's been transacted. And the reason I say that, it's easy to many times to sell that animal. But following that sale, make sure to transfer the papers in a timely manner. Make sure to follow up with them when they get home that, hey, how's the animal doing? Help them market the cattle out of your genetics. If you sell somebody a bull and they're putting on Hereford cows, and you two guys have a great outlet here to help them promote their F1 females, or if they're showing a heifer that they purchased from you, go to the show. If they win something, promote their winnings, congratulate them. I think that as much as anything, it's all about the customer service that follows the sale.
Absolutely. And I see a lot of big ranches and stuff that I think do a good job of customer service that kind of will say something or have a advertisement or something about their customers doing good. And I think that's a great way to customer service. And that that rolls us into our next question of we talked about earlier how private treaty can kind of increase trust and um what was the word? Transparency was the word I used, I think. But how do you think customer service can also kind of increase that, even if they're maybe not able to do private treaty, they have an online sale or even an in-person sale?
Well, one, and Paul kind of alluded to it earlier, was, if you're buying, and I think you're specifically asking about an online sale, go look at the cattle before the sale. Make sure that you know what you're buying. But I think that, if you have an online sale, or if you can sign cattle through an online sale, like I said earlier, follow up with them. One is they're going to buy them online sale, then they're going to come to your place to pick them up. So, make sure that you have the animal up, and when they get there, that it's an easy process, that they're able to load them up and head on their way. Secondly, is if you sell an animal, make sure to transfer it in a timely manner. If they buy a genetic package, make sure that once they make payment, that you go ahead and release that to them. A lot of people, they want to go ahead and put those embryos in or utilize that semen. And then, as I mentioned earlier, just follow up with them periodically to make sure that one, they're happy with it. Make sure that if you sold them a heifer, that the heifer gets bred. And maybe at some point, once they have offspring out of that, that you help them promote that, or congratulate them with their success. This is a people business, and I think that's what people miss a lot of times, is that people like to do business with people that they like. And I think that's a very, very heavy strategy there, is that do the things that you would want somebody to do if you were on the other side of that and you were buying from them.
Absolutely. And as someone who's bought and sold semen myself, I can definitely say with when it comes to releasing semen or releasing embryos, I mean it, it doesn't have to be the next 10 minutes, but it's still important that if they show up to the breeding service, it's ready to go and that they can get that. Top Notch Cattle Company, selling semen on high quality registered red and gray Brahman cattle that are reproductively efficient, structurally sound, big ribbed, heavy muscled, and deep bodied. Contact me at 903 649 9155. Again, that's 903 649 9155. Or email me at bbwtopnotchcattle@gmail.com.
You talked about this earlier, how it's very important that we don't just market the animal, but we market our ranch. I'd like just for advice from you on how do we make sure that we're marketing our ranch when we're selling that animal?
I think there's several ways of doing that. And like I mentioned earlier, I think it's important that you market your ranch even before you market the cattle. Again, I think people want to buy from people that they like, but secondly, they like to buy from reputation programs. So, taking an ad out in the Brahman Journal or selling or an ad in local cattle publication or local newspaper or whatever it might be, whatever you think your marketing area is, I think it's good to create that foundation. Of course, social media is a big deal today. Get a ranch Facebook page if you're wanting to. I think having a ranch website's a great thing to do. That way you've just got different outlets to where you can disseminate information about what you're doing. For you two guys, hey, we went to a show and we picked up a win, or we sold a bull to the guy down the road and he's having a lot of great success with him. So I think there's a lot of different outlets that you can utilize, especially today, to to promote your program. But I think it's very important you promote your successes and the things that you're doing and the people that are buying from you and the successes that they're having to create that foundation.
You said take an ad out. You can do that in Cattle Innovation Station podcast. Contact me 903-649-9155.
It's not a bad way to do it.
All right, Paul.
So, and then a lot of these ranches, they can't really afford to do very expensive marketing. So, what are the best ways to market a ranch and cattle at an extremely low cost?
I think there's several ways there. We won't talk about expense. Of course, to have a website, there comes some expense. But when you look at some of these social media outlets, they don't cost anything. So I think that's a great way to do it, is to set up a ranch Facebook page. As much as anything, I know both you guys are involved in county cattlemen's associations or youth project shows or things of that sort. I think just going to industry events are great things. Of course, both you fellows like to show cattle, and there's probably not a better way to market your cattle than going to shows, and just having your banner up, having your cattle there, having a brochure or something, a business card that you can pass out. So not only do we have to focus on advertising or social media things, I think just attending activities and events is as important as anything, because everybody there could be a potential buyer for what you have.
Absolutely.
And then moving on with what you do, how someone could get in touch with you and to use your service. How would they go about that?
Well, fortunately, I'm going to give you all this information. I think it kind of coincides where I at least am practicing what I'm preaching. First of all, would be via phone. That number 713-202-1747. I do have a website at Infinity. It's INFINITY cattle.com. You can also find us on Facebook as well as Instagram and TikTok. So we kind of go through all those things. Of course, we do have advertisements in a couple of co-op ads in the Brahman Journal. Fortunately, I'm able to have all these different outlets, and hopefully you can find us on one of those avenues.
Well, now we're going to start wrapping up this episode, and just something that we ask almost everybody, the main part of our podcast. What's some advice to ranchers to help innovate their herd for the better?
Gracious, I think that there's so many different aspects or sectors of the industry. And I guess a lot of it is in kind of, my strong suit would be more the purebred side. And again, we've talked a lot about it today from the marketing side of things, but I think when you start out, and this is where we normally get a lot of people after they've already started, and we have to correct this, is buy from reputation operations. Buy cattle that don't have many holes in them. And I say that from a phenotypic standpoint. Buy something that has a marketable pedigree. Buy something that has, some performance values to it. Use genetics that are proven and popular. Again, a lot of people, they may not be able to afford the more expensive genetics from what we would call kind of top tier operations. So they may go to a medium tier operation to buy those cattle at a reduced price. And certainly those producers are ecstatic to sell them. Focus on quality. Focus on something that you think is going to take you to the next level. And then, of course, promote those cattle or promote those genetics that you have through the things we've talked about today, through advertisements, through different social media aspects, go to industry events, stay on top of what's important, whether it be in the commercial industry, the purebred industry, kind of watch and see what the trends are and stay ahead of those. If you're behind, then you're always going to be behind and it's hard to ever get in, take the lead in something. So kind of, read in publications, go to extension meetings, find out kind of what you think the next trend's going to be, and go ahead and get on that. I'm not saying you have to jump all in on it, especially with something you're kind of hesitant on. I think that you need to utilize every aspect that there is to try to stay ahead of the curve.
Right. And so you talked about buying from reputable breeders. Do you think that it has to be the biggest, most popular ranches, or do you think that buying from smaller producers that you still find honest and transparent and credible is still something, if you find good cattle there, that you can do?
Oh, most definitely. I think, any size producer, as long as you're buying quality cattle, and I want to emphasize quality and make sure that the genetics are kind of in line and something that's proven and popular that you think that might, benefit you long term. Again, I just think that, which both of you guys have done this, and I know you have, because I know both your operations, is you buy quality cattle, and in my opinion, you're building a foundation. And it's like building a house. You've got to have that strong foundation to be able to build off of. And not saying you might not make some mistakes along the way, but if you have that strong foundation, you can always go back and build off of it. So, no, I don't think it matters what size breeder that you purchase from. Just make sure that you buy quality cattle to build the foundation of your operation.
Yes, sir. And then you talked about growing up in 4-H and FFA and a bunch of other organizations. So I bet you've picked up a whole lot of core values. So just what are some of those core values that you'd like to share with us today and share with our listeners?
Oh, and I guess with age, different things change. And I would tell you that today, I think it's a balance of things. And I say that I think when I look back that it needs to be a balance of work, family, religion, extracurricular activities for you guys. I just think you need to be well rounded. So what I would say is, with age and experience, that just be well rounded. Know a little bit about a lot of things. You don't have to know a lot about one particular thing, but I think just being a well rounded person and trying to balance all aspects of life are very important.
I absolutely agree with that. So you talked about religion in there. What's your favorite Bible verse?
And there's a lot, probably just like both you guys, but I would think that maybe I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I say that from the standpoint of it every day you meet challenges, and you're looking for that kind of, really dig down deep and how am I going to get over this hurdle? And of course, some days are better than others. But I think if I had to go to one, that'd probably be the one that I would probably experience more on a day-to-day basis.
And that is Philippians 4:13 for anyone who wants to look that up.
That's correct.
I guess, is there any questions that you wanted to ask us? Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Any comments that you had?
I don't think so. I just want to applaud you guys for doing what you're doing. You're obviously well beyond your years. You've asked some great questions. I applaud you for the professionalism that this has been. Obviously, much more innovative and technologically savvy, more so than myself. So I think this is a great podcast. I think that people have really gained a lot of value and they enjoy seeing what you guys are doing. So I want to applaud you for that. I think this has been very professionally run, and hopefully, we're giving a lot of information that people can use that they'll find to be useful. So, well done. No, I don't know that I've got any questions, but I did want to applaud both of you for what you're doing here and being great mentors to a lot of young people. I wish you the best of luck as you go down the road. Of course, I've been able to watch both of you, and I knew both your families for a long time now. So it's good to see both of you really doing well and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. You've been listening to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast and the Chris Shivers interview. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. and on the streaming service of your choice. You can also email us at bbwtop90cattle@gmail.com or join our email list by doing our survey, which is on both of our social media platforms and in the description of this episode. Okay, thank you for joining us. We've certainly learned a lot about marketing and selling cattle and everything that comes along with that and Infinity Cattle Services. Again, thank you for listening. I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth, and I was joined today by your other host, Paul Hayes, and our guest today was Mr. Chris Shivers. Don't forget to tune in next month. Keep innovating the cattle industry. Signing off. Hello, guys. Thank you for listening to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast. We want to make this podcast better. So if you would, please like this episode and leave us feedback in the comment section. Something else that helps make this podcast better is when you respond to the polls. So if you're able, please respond to our polls. Help us make this podcast as good as possible. Thank you, God bless, and have a good day. Thank you for listening to the Cattle Innovation Station podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
I'm your host, Baxter Whitworth.
I'm your co-host, Paul Hayes. Remember our key verse, Proverbs 16:3.
Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans.
Thank you for listening.